Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be going over part 4 of the stages of reunion, which is going to be the honeymoon phase and after the honeymoon phase. So the honeymoon phase is basically the time during your reunion where you are just on top of the world. Everything is euphoric. You are super happy, and you have found your child, or you've found your birth parent, and nothing can get you down. So this is the honeymoon phase, and it can last, a considerable amount of time. I would say it could last maybe even up to a year. You're spending so much time together, or you're talking on the phone all the time if you don't live close together. It's almost an obsession with each other. There are a few uncertainties that do come along with this phase, such as what do we call each other, especially for the adoptee to the birth mother. Do you call them by their name, or do you call them mom? And it really depends on the individuals, and that is something to discuss. But honeymoon is basically, the best time, and everything is just going great. Now, during this honeymoon phase, you do start to have a lot of emotions in the background and stuff, but they haven't bubbled over yet to take over this euphoric feeling that you're having. After the honeymoon is when things really start to get moving. This is a time when one or both of the parties may pull back a little bit. They need to process things, and the overwhelm has gotten too much, and so now it's time to do some emotional work and work on what are we going to do? How is this going to progress in the future? When adoptees do this, sometimes the birth parents feel hurt or angry. And when a birth mother pulls back, an adoptee may feel rejected and abandoned again. So this can be a really tough time, but you have to make sure that you communicate what's going on so that nobody feels hurt in the long run. It shouldn't be just a clean break with no communication. You really should tell each other, hey, I need some time to myself to process all of this. This is really heavy. However, if it's not said, please understand that it is normal for this to happen. And this is the time of reunion when problems generally start to arise. The birth mother really starts to regress and really starts to, have a lot of grief bubble up. This was the time that I really lost it. While my daughter knew that I was having a tough time, I didn't express it to her or in front of her. I let her know that I was having these feelings, and this is what I was thinking, and this is what I was dealing with, but I don't think she knows the extent of what I was going through, because I didn't want her to shoulder the burden of my pain, because God only knows that she probably has her own devils that, she was fighting at that time too. And this is the time when, if you are having these feelings and this is what happens, then you need to seek some type of therapy. If you're like me and don't like to actually go to therapy because it triggers you in itself, then you need to find some type of support system, whether it be a birth mothers group or a good girlfriend that you can talk to and that can help you through it and really start to work through this grief that you are having. During this phase of after the honeymoon is when you start to either make adjustments or take a time out. And that is the next part in the stages of reunion. So sometimes after the honeymoon, people have a time out and they pull back from each other. This can last days, weeks, months, sometimes even years, and it's not uncommon for it to last years. I have heard of reunions picking up, though, after quite a few years of a timeout. Sometimes one of the parties needs to focus on their feelings and process all the emotions that bubble up during reunion. It can be very painful for the other party, but please bear in mind that it is necessary and healthy to do so. So that sometimes these timeouts are a cause of the wants and desires of one of the parties and the other party not being able to fulfill those wants and desires yet, or maybe even ever in the future. And sometimes high expectations are also what cause this timeout. Now, me and my daughter really haven't had a timeout in the 4 years we've been reunited. Or so I thought. When I was doing the research for this, I realized that we kind of did have a timeout, but it kind of almost felt natural because our timeout basically happened during COVID. What had happened was we reunited in 2018 and we met in 2019. Well, we all know that in the beginning of 2020, everything shut down. So we had only had one lunch before everything really shut down. We met and then we had like one lunch and then the world shut down. And then we had like a 3-month break. We did speak, but we didn't see each other. It kind of went back to just, texting and stuff. And it was still not as much as it is today. But so we had this natural break through all of 2020 that allowed us to pull back and process a lot of what's going on. So I'm kind of thankful for that. Will there be another time out in the future for us? I don't know. Possibly, but maybe not. Maybe everything will go just as according to plan. So after a timeout happens, if you do come back together and you have taken some time to process your feelings, you may come back and make adjustments. This is where you would have a discussion with the other party of your wants, your desires, your needs, and your boundaries, and where you can go right now. Things may change in the future. You're not set in stone to just be like this forever. But for now, some boundaries may need to be put into place, whether that be on the birthmom side or the adoptee's side. And the other side has to respect those boundaries and understand those needs for reunion to move forward successfully. Without that understanding, it just probably won't work. And after you make these adjustments, you have the stage of an ongoing relationship. And this is basically the final stage. Will it always be an ongoing relationship? Nobody knows. You may go into a timeout after an ongoing relationship of 10, 20 years. I've heard that happen. And then reunite again. Nobody knows what's going to happen or when. But the stage after making adjustments is ongoing relationship, and you basically go and you live your life now reunited as birth mother and adopted child. This is where you settle into a comfortable relationship with each other. You have few disagreements and you understand each other's boundaries, needs, wants, and desires. And if anything's bothering one of you, you have the ability to discuss them and work things out. So with that, everyone, this is the end of this series of the stages of reunion. I do want to point out that reunion takes work, dedication, commitment, communication, education on potential traumas, and a willingness to accept the other's shortcomings. There is risk in reunion, and you are in essence meeting a stranger, but in my opinion, it is so worth it. And with that said, I want to thank you for the privilege of your time, and have a great day. Bye-bye.